Hello and welcome back to the Selfishly podcast. My name is Seb Corvey, that's how I've decided to call myself. And welcome back to 2020, or welcome to 2020. Life has been a little bit crazy lately, and so I've been on a bit of a hiatus with doing the podcast. I've been holidaying and seeing family and doing life stuff. It's just been wild at the moment, but finally ready to get back on track and start the year off with episode 8. And on today's episode, I got Bridget Green, one of my lovely friends from high school, joining me. We talk about a lot of different stuff, just like a stream of conversation that just flows from our high school together, being a twin, Disney sequels, talking about the idea of how information spreads and changes. We talk about a wide scope of things and it's great. I'm really happy I got to have her on. Unfortunately, because my house has been a bit chaotic at the moment, you can hear some like dogs barking in the background at some point. I apologize, I couldn't really edit those out, but it's only for a little bit, so sorry for that. But anyways, I'll stop rambling as always, and I'll let you enjoy the episode. Thanks guys, take it away, me. So anyways, that was
we got
there. Welcome to the Selfishly podcast. My name is Seb or Sebastian Corvey. On today's episode of the Selfishly podcast, I have my lovely, beautiful friend Bridget Green with me. Hello, Bridget.
Hello. What an introduction.
Yes, how are you?
I'm good.
Bridget and I met back in 2007, 13 years ago.
Fresh-faced
BBs, entering puberty as well as high school.
The chaos of becoming an adult.
Do you remember?
Or trying to become an adult.
Oh, literally. Or thinking, it's like when at the end of grade 6 and you're like, I'm the top of the school, and then it's like year 7 and you're like, oh my god, I'm the bottom. I'm the tiniest person in the world.
Yes.
Do you remember lots of your year 7 times?
I remember some of it. Yeah, there's definitely moments that stand out.
Ever get like triggered flashbacks of like, oh my gosh.
Trying to make friends.
Oh. Do you remember when we first became friends? We've talked about this a few times, but I've been thinking about it again recently.
Was it camp or was it before then? Because we were in the same year 7 class, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that first 2 weeks of year 7's such a strange time.
I was friends with somebody else to start with.
Yeah. I do remember this.
Maybe not. I don't know. We won't drop names.
No.
Just in case. Yeah, I became friends with somebody else beforehand and then decided I didn't really want to be friends with them because they just were living their life in a way that was different to mine. So I tried to venture out and make some other friends.
Easy way to put it.
The friend that I was friends with was because we met at orientation day and then we found out we were in the same class. So then we kind of,
just as like safety net sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I did the same. There was 2 people from my primary school and I was like, I'm not letting go of you people. Because, it's all, the start of year 7
was one person from my primary school and it was my twin sister.
Oh, yes.
So at least you had other friends and we were in different home groups, so we had different we didn't have classes together or anything in year 7, which is good. It's not good to have classes with your twins. It's not good for me to have classes with my twin. So everything just gets way too competitive.
Yeah, I suppose. I was just thinking for preface, so Bridget has a twin sister. He's also a good friend of mine who I haven't seen in a long time though. Hey Rachel.
Hey Rach.
Hope you're doing well. Were you excited that you weren't in the same class?
We were never in the same class in primary school. No, that's a lie. Grade 6 we were in the same class. But Mum always tried to keep us apart because otherwise we're just spending all day, every day together. You come home to the same house, you just can't escape each other.
Yeah.
And as much as, even in high school, we would make our own friends. And I think it was I made I made some friends in year 7, and then she made her friends in year 7, and then by year 8 our friends decided they wanted to be friends, and then it's like we just couldn't escape it.
It was just a gravitational
pull towards each other. It was like so yeah, no, we preferred to not have classes together.
Yeah.
Well, I preferred not to, only because things just got competitive academically.
Yeah.
And it's like, just let me do my thing. Yeah. I think she'd do it sometimes as well. Because we were both, I don't know, I suppose relatively academic. It was like, what did you get on this? What did you get on this?
You're both very
and I'm
smart.
like, can you just... I've said to her before, I was like, you're smarter than me. She's like, I'll always remember that you said that. No. And I was like, well, it's true. Yeah. I was like, I just wish that you just accepted that a little bit earlier. I was like, I never had any question about it. I was
like, it's interesting because you guys obviously, well, I know that you're not identical twins.
Yeah.
And I remember at the start of year 7, a lot of people didn't even know you were twins in the first place,
including teachers.
We just had the same last name, but no one
Mum went in for an interview with one of the teachers and had booked like the 2 10-minute time slots next to each other, so she could just pretty much roll in from one of us to the other. Yeah. And got in there and was like talking about me, and it finished up a little bit early, and she goes, oh, okay, well, you might as well start talking about Rachel now. And they were like, I can't tell you about Rachel. She's like, what do you mean? She's like, they're twins. Like, did you not know that? And they're like, really? Mum's like, you've taught them for a whole year.
Oh my gosh. That is...
like, how?
But you also I mean, you're not identical twins, but you kind of have similar attributes anyway.
We do. And our mannerisms
and you sounded,
quite similar now. Something we noticed when we moved back in together. But yes.
Was that always because... Obviously, I haven't got a twin, and people who don't have twins
speak from experience.
Seb. I have a secret twin. He's hiding in my attic.
Yeah.
Right now. If you hear a tip tap, it's him.
See,
no,
not basement though. Not the basement. That's the key part.
If he was in a basement,
we have concerns.
You would hear lots of noise, lots of kerfuddles.
True crimes coming to your place.
I actually wonder if there is a true crime about twins, and one of them.
It reminds me of that Simpsons episode.
Yeah, the Bart one. Yeah. That was an iconic episode.
There probably could be. Because I think they said something like identical twins have, because you're identical, you have the same fingerprints and everything. So I think there has been cases where someone...
it's the twin frames the other one or just blames the other one.
Or
I mean, I can imagine.
Bam, there's a movie that it happens in. It's one of my favorite movies, but it's bam, spoiler, because you don't really know about it till the end. Can I spoil a movie that's been out for 20 years?
What movie is it?
The Prestige.
Oh yeah, you've shown me that one so many times.
Yeah,
not so many, but I know it's one of your favorites. Yeah. It is a good movie.
Yeah, but that's what it is. They frame the twin. There's one good twin and one bad twin, and they're identical, and then the good twin's the one that ends up in jail for the crimes that he didn't commit. The bad twin committed.
So you got lucky. You haven't got identical sister.
But it also meant that we couldn't play tricks on people. So,
so you win some, you lose some.
You win some, you lose some. That's all we wanted. That's all I wanted. I don't know about Rachel. She would have got dragged along anyway.
Yeah. Just into your crime spree. You haven't got a choice.
You're you know what I really don't like? This class.
Switch.
Just jump on in.
Why did your grades just dip horribly? Why'd they get so much better?
Sabotage.
Have you enjoyed your time being a twin?
I don't know what it's like not to
not
be
having,
a twin.
I suppose, right?
Yeah, it's one of those
Yeah, I suppose. Well, I mean,
because everyone's different. Everyone is quite different with their twins. Some twins are really, really close, and I wouldn't say we're really, really close, but we became closer as we got older because we had our own. We made our own after high school, because we had our own friends, and then we had different work friends, work circles. We were studying different things, and then so you're not kind of in each other's business all the time. But then I know so many twins that's just what they do, and what their twin is their best friend, and that's So I don't know, but I feel that's more with identical. I think I've found that more with identical
Yeah.
twins, which is weird. Yeah, I don't know, because like it's like that wanting to be your own person,
Yeah.
kind of thing, and not be defined by
Oh,
continually compared to each other.
yeah.
Kind of mean. The only thing that like would sometimes I remember being younger and having to console myself at one point because Rachel had been invited to a birthday party and I hadn't, and it was like the first time that had happened.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's one of the things too with because your friends are all like you're friends with like the same people, but like she was obviously like, and I just remember being like, it's okay, she's like, we're still friends. And I think I could have even been mum saying it. Mum's like, you're still friends, it's just that like it was one of Rachel's best friends, someone that I was friends with, and they just had a small party, so Rachel got invited but I didn't.
Yeah.
And that was like a to feel like I suppose missing out that you wouldn't have if you were just a like an year older, year younger sibling, because you're different ages and that, so it doesn't really come into play that much. But it's like because my primary school was really small, it's like I think that we only had 36 people or something in my year level, and when a whole heap of people, like a third of the year level, is essentially going to this party, but you're not going, and it's like, it'd be nice to go, but it's just one of those things you just have to accept. Like, you're not the same person. You never want to be treated as the same person. But Mum would joke that at birthdays and stuff, you always say that you want different presents, and then I get you different presents, and then you want what the other one has.
May as well just get you both one thing.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I was just thinking, because like you said with the year 7, and being so you wanted to like distance yourself from her, well, from the just to stand on your own. Do you think? I
feel like she probably did more than I did, but that's
well, because like I mean I was super shy as well in year 7. You were really shy. Because I would say, like, from, just say, year 7 to obviously now, here's a time's passed, but also, like, a very different person.
Yeah.
But then, that, like, I would say that, like, huge, like, spark of you being like, oh, here, I got it, was, like, when you went and did your overseas studying and everything.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know, can you just kind of talk about that? Does it make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know
what
you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, my little year 7 me, or even into high school me, and into like young adult me, did change when I went overseas. I'm very much a people person though. Like, I love talking to people, and I love hearing different people's like what they do. Like, I remember just having conversations with people, and they like overseas, and they're telling me like their life, and I was like, I can't even imagine that. Like, there's no way that my life could have ever gone down the path that yours is going down. Like, that's so fascinating. Like, what do you mean you're a race car? Like, you drive race cars or whatever. Like, that's crazy. Or you play music and your whole family's played it, and you've traveled to different countries and stuff because your mum plays music all the time and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, that's so fascinating to me. So that's why I like traveling. Like, I like meeting new people and seeing new places and that too. Just kind of having your eyes open. But I went on the trip because I wanted to go and see other places. And I'd always said that I was going to do it. And I was so scared and so nervous about it. But I was like, no, you have to do this, because I wasn't happy with who I was. And I was like, I'm too shy. I need to like... I suppose find that self-confidence, I'll say. Yeah. Like, find me and who I want to be, and like who I'm happy with being. And I thought, the best time to do that is to force yourself kind of into being okay with just you. Yeah. Which is what happens when you go overseas and you're the only person that in the hemisphere, let alone in the country or the state or whatever. I never would like push myself to step out of my comfort zone, because I was always worried about what other people would think. And when you get surrounded by people who have this perceived view of you that they've like created over several years, it's hard to feel like you can break out of that without being judged for it, because you will be judged for it, but that's kind of the whole point.
Yeah.
Is of you changing and growing. But that wasn't something I was comfortable with. So I think just going over there was kind of like a fresh start, like a clean slate, because these people don't know anything about you. They will only know about you what you decide to tell them or how you decide to like come across. And if you want to make friends, you kind of have to put yourself out there. You kind of have to go searching for friends. And it's a lot harder when you're an adult than it is when you're like kids. You can't just be like, here, come play ball with me. Like, they'll just look at you like, you do realize we're like in the middle of writing essays. It's like, well, damn it.
I just want to chat.
How do people make friends these days? Make you friendship bracelet? Even though I don't know who you are. Like, is this your name?
I can just imagine like this 22-year-old Bridget just walking out with this friendship bracelet being like, I made you this. And like,
and
so
like,
do I
who
know
are
you?
So, and it was actually really hard. So the first couple of months, I think I was there for about a month in Dublin, where I didn't have any friends and I didn't know anybody, and I was pretty much just going to uni classes and then back to like the place I was staying. And the place I was staying was like a house in someone's backyard that they had renovated to put pretty much for student accommodation. But there was a lot of people in there. So I was living with, during the week, it was me and six guys. And on weekends, it was me and two guys.
Damn. Why did the others just like leave the weekend?
Yeah, so there were four guys who were Irish, and they were living in a room that just had like two double bunk beds in it, and they were doing internships in Dublin City. So then they go home on weekends. And then the other guys were, one was an Aussie guy, and one was a Dutch guy. And so obviously they were doing the same thing as me. So we all lived there. But my room was like a single bed and then half a heater, because the other heater went through the wall into one of the other guys' rooms. So he just had like a bed in there. And I had like just a small desk, and that was all that was in the room that I was staying in. And then like no one ever ventured out to the lounge room or anything. The kitchen was like a communal kitchen. So there was very like small, kind of lonely and isolated, because I just kind of like pretty much go into my room and just, it was great that the UK had Netflix at that point in time, because we didn't in Australia yet. So we got it by the time it came back. It was great.
So what year was this?
2015.
Okay.
But then I went on I was like, no, you have to try and meet people. Like, I made friends and stuff in classes, but I suppose it's very much like if people were to come here, and I did notice it too when we had people on exchange or something at uni in my classes, that, you know, you kind of like, you want to be friends with them and give them the experience, but also like you're living your life. So, you know, I can't stay up there and do that, because I have to come catch a train for, like, I was commuting over an hour, and then I have work. Like, I can't just hang around afterwards. Like, you know, that.
No, I get that. How,
if you're living on campus or something, you can do that. But if you're not, you're doing it. And that's what a lot of my friends were doing from there. They were commuting, so I couldn't even do that. So much. And then I was just, they had like a day for clubs, I suppose. Do you call them clubs?
Like, like group.
Yeah,
so
like the university,
club.
Like, like tennis club and all that kind of stuff. So I went to that, like the club's day, just had a little bit of a wander around, and then saw they have one called the like Erasmus Society. So Erasmus is like if a European does exchange in a European country.
Oh, okay.
It's called Erasmus.
That's fun. It sounds like medieval.
I was just like, you know, like, what's it called, LARPing. I'm just out there like, what, live action role playing, like.
Oh my gosh.
You're like,
I would love that,
they do that in Traralgon on weekends, okay? I haven't done it, but I see them out there.
Oh my gosh, I want you to
I kind of want to go down one day and just be like, what's happening?
And
I would probably love this.
Yes.
Yeah, come down to
That would
Traralgon
be
one day.
so interesting.
I think it's on a Saturday. They do it from like 1 o'clock or something. They just do it on. They all dress up in like medieval stuff. I'm
So it's
not
like
sure.
a Renaissance fair sort of
Yeah.
thing. Cool.
Yeah, so that's yeah. I know.
I mean, I would love to go to a Renaissance fair at least once in my life.
Yeah, do we do them in Australia?
I don't think it's that popular.
Yeah, because I know there's LARPing and stuff in the States. It's like, I think there's like a person who, like a story master or something, who creates the story for the day, and then you all kind of like action it out or something, and you have like a character that so your character could be like an elf, or it could be like a warrior, or like whatever. But people like dress up and stuff. It's like cosplaying, like just for fun on weekends.
I mean,
It sounds great.
I'd be curious
Maybe
to
that's
like.
how I should go meet friends with Terrellian.
I mean, maybe.
I don't have a cosplay. Well, I do, but like I don't have that kind of
You
cosplay.
could.
I could.
One time you made your own Meredith costume.
I did.
Yeah, and that was awesome. You could probably just wear that.
I probably could.
You should. I want that. I would need this to happen now, but you should have put it out there.
Bad things happen. Yeah. Anyway, I was looking at back on topic. I was looking at that, and I found this Erasmus Society, and like was like, oh, what's that? And the guys who were running the store were like, oh, it's when people come on exchange and that, we just organise trips out so that you can see Ireland and do a couple of days in that. Yeah, so then they were doing a trip out to, must have been the Cliffs of Moher. So I was like, oh, I want to do that. So I like booked myself onto it, and I knew nobody. And then there was a couple of different hostels we were spread between, and there was one that was like girls. They only had girls, and they had one spare bed or something in there. And I was like, oh well, I'll put my hand up and go join in that. And that was just because they everyone else like knew people, so they all had like partnered off. And then that was when I met my girl squad.
Cute.
Hashtag.
Oh god. Not cute anymore. No.
Sorry by Justin Bieber was our theme song. It came out that year.
Oh, you know what? It's a good song. So I actually do like that song.
Yeah. And I remember them also being like, "Oh my god, you're so like, do you not know anybody on this trip?" And I was like, "No." Did you guys know people? And they're like, but they're all doing like business management and all this kind of stuff, so they all had classes together, so they met each other through that, and I'm just like the lonely kid off in the science school. Which was like on a different campus. Like if you look at it in terms of Melbourne, the campuses were spread out throughout Melbourne. So I was pretty much at like Flinders Street Station, and they're over at like Parliament or something. Okay. So
so it's like
we're not gonna like come into contact
just, like,
with each other.
Casually bump into each other after class.
Yeah, it also made it really fun if I had like 15 minutes to get from one to the other for like different classes. I'm like, I'm gonna get late. I'm gonna be late, and they mark attendance there, and you very much felt like a child. It's like you had to, back in school, they roll call. And I'm like, no. I remember one of the lecturers being like at one point, if you need to go to the bathroom, I just prefer that you don't, because it disrupts the lecture. And I was like, we're adults. Like, what are you talking about? If I want to get up and leave, I can just get up and leave.
Go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It was very like backward. It felt, the way that their university was structured felt like I was back in high school again. And
was it like a big university, or were they small classes? Because
the classes were probably like, depends on which one I was in. Some of them were small, and they were maybe 30, 40 people. Yeah. But some of them were bigger. And then I remember getting called out at one point. So I was in a class with like third or fourth years. And I would have been in my third year, going into my fourth year at that time as well. So about the same. Yeah. And we had to do a literature review, I believe it was. And the lecturer just called me out in class at one point. It's like, oh, this person. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, where did you learn to reference? And I was like, I'm like, my university, like, back at home has a thing on there where we can, like, get our references and stuff from. And she's like, everybody, this is how you reference.
Oh my gosh! Thank God, though.
I
that
know.
she said
I was like
"Wait."
freaking out in my seat. I was like, oh no. But then it was like even worse because she pretty much called out the whole class for being really shit at referencing.
Be like
in
this
her
Bridget Green
defense,
girl.
in her defense, they were still using Wikipedia, and just putting a website link as the reference.
Has to be
Hell
the
no.
website link, the date you saw it, the date it was created,
The name of the
author.
author's first child. Like, you need it all in there.
your blood type. Can I just quickly say, for like a bit of context of how Bridget would have reacted to that situation being called out. One time we were at Target and we walked through the buzzers and they just went off on Bridget. And as I remember just like turning and looking at her, and even before I was looking at her, she was bright red.
I have a blushing problem.
It was just
I don't like
attention.
I don't like it when attention is turned towards me and I'm not expecting it. I also don't like it if I'm talking, like I was at work the other day and I was had a group for like a project, so I'm like the project lead on this group, and I'm talking and stuff, and it was like all of a sudden it just felt like the intensity just like amped up in it, and I was like, I can't deal. Like, but I just kept going, and I came out after. It's like, I'm so flushed. I can't even professional.
But you kept going, so I mean
did.
that's fine. Just wear like a layer of full coverage. Does it still come through? Do you know?
Yes, it does. But that was how I tricked myself. So that was the other thing. Like, waitressing very much helped with being shy. Especially doing events and functions, because I'm sure, as you know, when you walk into a group of people at a party and they've created a circle because they're all talking and you're on the outside with a plate of food, it's your job to give them the food, but they don't want to listen, and you just got to be like, hey guys,
Do you want this food?
frittata.
That's so funny.
Like,
You were like the main person at the golf club we worked at.
yeah.
For all like interacting with the customers, and even when they were mad or something went wrong, it was like you all the time.
Yeah.
And you would always like hold yourself like so firmly and be like, look, I'm trying to help you out. That's the best thing. La la la.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know why I didn't even like put those two things together.
Yeah.
So like, good on you for getting that far. Is it still like, I mean, because like shyness sucks.
Yeah.
It can be really hard.
Yeah. I think like, well, in terms of that, dealing with customers and stuff, that's more of just you have to respect that they're going to have their opinion and they're going to deal with it that way. And people do often find it very difficult if you do turn around and you do agree with them, because they don't know where to go from there. They're like, wait, but I was ready for an argument. And I'm just like, no, like, I respect. It's not right. It shouldn't have happened that way. And then the only thing that would ever frustrate me is I'm like, yes, that is a problem. That is what happened. We can't go back and change it, sadly. I wish we could, but we can't. So we're just going to have to deal with it from here. And then that's actually one thing that always gets me is when people get caught up on that kind of stuff. They get caught up on the thing that's happened that you can't change. So instead of trying to move forward, they just keep going back to that one thing. And I'm like, but it makes you feel like shit. So why would you want to keep bringing it back when you can just try and fix it so it doesn't happen again, or like move past it?
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I think that's the kind of thing that I don't know, I've just learned along the way. Learned that I couldn't, you can't predict things, especially when you're traveling by yourself. Like, if you're late for something, there's no point in being like, oh no, I'm late for it. Like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. I've missed my bus. Like, what am I going to do now? I had planned on doing that. It's like, okay, you've missed your bus. Well, you're just going to have to book another one. I like, it's shitty, but you got to accept it and keep moving forward. It's like, can't go back and change it.
Yeah.
Can't go back and not miss the bus. The bus isn't going to come back for you. So you got to just keep moving on.
Move forward.
Fine. And then when you fix that, you've like dealt with it, then you can go back and figure out what actually went wrong.
Yeah.
Try and problem solve it there and be like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have slept for that long. Maybe I should have checked out on time or whatever.
Yeah. And it's like, why did I sleep in too long? Oh, well, I stayed up all night drinking
why was I out
watching
partying?
Netflix. Yeah.
Like, what am I doing?
It just gets to a really deep spot. You're like, why was I out partying? Oh, needed to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Why do I need to be fulfilled?
And all of a sudden you're just in this like spiral, like it's not a good time to be on an overnight bus by myself, just thinking. I do find it actually quite interesting, like hearing other people be like, you did change, like you
I
grown and
remember it.
developed and
I remember it came through when you got a haircut.
I got rid of my fringe.
got rid of-
Oh wait, when I cut my hair short, or when I got rid of my fringe?
When you got rid of your fringe, that was the moment. You're like, she's a different girl. So from year 7.
It was like I had my fringe for 8 years.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a very like, and
It
because,
was in year 8. Yeah.
and it was always very like,
It
just
hid
there.
everything.
Yeah. It like sat just on your eyebrows.
Yes, that was because my eyebrows are strawberry blonde, so they just blend in with my red, pale toned face, and you can't see them. So I was like, you know what? I don't have to deal with if my fringe just covers that.
And also like you hide your forehead.
That's how I would realize like summer was happening, because there was a distinct line of like part of my face that was sunburned and the paleness under my fringe.
I remember we even had to, one time we were at the beach and you were like cloaked. You're like covered in all these layers of fabric to keep out of the sun.
Yes,
I
I
mean,
had
the
this
sun is
discussion with someone
super
the other day,
dangerous.
and they were like, about people not liking the beach. It was last night, actually.
Oh.
And someone was like, yeah, I don't like the beach. And I was like, and everyone's like, oh, how can you not like the beach? And I've just gone, I don't really like the beach. They're like, why don't you like the beach? I was like, there's a lot of sand. And I was like, and you can't hide from the sun. And I was like, I was like, one of my worst sunburn stories was I played a game of soccer and it rained in the first half and I got sunburned in the second. Like,
oh my god.
how?
No, I can understand. And sand, like, yes, the sun is a deadly laser. It's very dangerous. Okay, It gives us all this life, but it's also killing us all slowly.
Yes. Is it not?
and like
I think they said, feel like I heard on the radio or something, they were like, people in the Bayside have the highest skin cancer rate, like, in Australia as well.
oh, wow.
Yeah, maybe it's because they all go to the beach all the time.
Yes, and also because I always remember we had that hole in the ozone layer, so it makes it worse. Apparently, it's getting a bit better.
It's worse in New Zealand.
Is it really?
Yeah, like, didn't realize until I went there and I forgot to put sunscreen on, and that was one of the worst sunburns I've ever had. And I probably was only in the sun for maybe 15 minutes, half an hour, and it wasn't even like full sun. It was probably like 23 degrees or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I got so sunburned, like radiatingly heat sunburned, and I was like, wow, their sun is harsher than ours. Yeah, here we are complaining about it all the time.
Literally all the time.
Poor New Zealanders. But just the moral of the story here, kids, is to wear sunscreen.
What's a sunscreen? When
Slap. And I feel like they've added 2 more things on there since then. There's now 5. More S words. Just throw them in there.
Just don't stop putting it on.
Yeah.
Well, I remember because so like my dad's Chilean Italian, so I was blessed with not really burning.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I still like wouldn't put sunscreen on just because I don't know why. I think I was just a lazy child. And I like look back on photos and I'm like crispy tanned. My skin's so nice and smooth. Flash forward like 18 years later and I'm so wrinkly and just wish I had have layered all of the sunscreen all over my body.
I just have a lot of freckles. But I feel it's actually kind of interesting because like you look at like being a kid, it's like not that many freckles and they start to come through like as you get older, and then so many freckles.
This might sound like a super stupid question, but what is a freckle? Like, why does it come up when it's been in the sun and then just stays forever? I don't understand that.
A freckle is like your skin going, I'm gonna try and tan, and then failing.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's why they come out in the sun, because it's like the same pigmentation in that would come through when your skin tans, but it's like my skin can't tan, like it doesn't do an all over tan, so it just like comes out in like spots.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Is that a stupid question?
I feel like it's not a stupid question.
I honestly have never thought about where freckles.
Because you know what is a stupid question? Also about freckles is a question I've been asked. But then again, now thinking of it, probably not a stupid question, just not something that they were used to. It was when I was in India and I got asked if I had a skin disease.
Because of your freckles?
Because of my freckles. Because people over there don't freckle.
Oh.
And they were like, yeah, they're like, are you okay? Do you have like a skin disease? And I was like, no.
Just come right out and say it.
Like, I'm fine. Like, what are you talking
Oh my
about?
gosh.
And then I realized they were talking about my freckles.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't even thought of that.
Yeah. Because, yeah, I guess it's just different if there's not people around you that have freckled and stuff
Well, if
before,
it's-
you just wouldn't be used to seeing it.
Yeah, if it's more normal for the area for everyone to be darker skinned and
Yeah.
freckles aren't a thing,
Yeah.
then why? They
Yeah,
would
why
know.
would you? Yeah, you just wouldn't know. And if you don't know, then it's perfectly valid
Well,
to ask those questions. It kind of came out of nowhere. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not diseased. Like, why would you think that?
Very
and then I
blunt
thought
and
about it, like in the context of where I was, the question made sense. If someone was to ask that to me over here, I would probably question it a bit more.
Like, what do you mean? Do you just think there's heaps of diseased people just casually walking around?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it could be.
There could be. But that's actually something that's kind of interesting. Like when you travel, like I don't know if you've had it in different places where people kind of like typecast you as being something. So like when I was in Ireland, they had all of the like the main street. The main street there was like where all the buses and stuff were, but it was also where all the like hop on, hop off tours were.
Okay.
And I never got like given a pamphlet to like jump on a bus
Was that
as
you
like
were
a tourist
local?
thing. But then I got like stopped by. Have I told you when I got stopped by Amnesty International?
I don't think so.
Oh my gosh! If you would like to have a summary of me in a thing, it was the hard. So I'm really bad when anybody comes up to me and tries to sell me anything because I want to be polite, but I also really don't want what they're trying to give to me.
Yeah.
But they never seem to pick up on any kind of subtle hints that I'm putting out there, and then I get signed up to things. It's happened more than once that I've been signed up to something.
I love this.
So I was catching. I had to go to the. It was the GNIB. So I had to go like get my visa stamped off to say like, yeah, I'm a student. I had like a month to do it by the time I got there.
Yeah.
And I got stopped when I got off my bus by Amnesty International. And so they were trying to like get me to sign up, and they're like, oh wow, like you're not from here. And I was like, yeah, I'm not from here. And they've just gone, oh, I don't have like an Irish bank card. And they're like, it's fine, we're international, we accept all bank cards. And I was like, oh no. I'm also like, I'm not earning money at the moment, like I'm just here living off my savings. I don't have a job or anything. And so I managed to escape it. It was very hard. It took a lot of time, but I managed to get away without getting signed up, which was great. This is just, it's what I aim for in life. I'm not often successful. I probably have like a 50-50 rate, like 50-50 fails to wins. I try to have like only one charity at a time though. That's what I've got. But so I got away. It was great. And then was walking, went to the thing. Just think of like Centrelink, and then times that line by like 4. That's how big the queues in that were at this place. And so I think I was there for, except they give you a number, which is nice. And then they call the numbers up on there. So I kind of went in, I was like number 400 and something. And they were up to like number 12. So I went and grabbed a coffee somewhere and came back. And I could see, okay, they've gone through like 100 people in an hour, so I'm going to be here for a while. And I'm on the other side of the Liffey, so it's okay. And so it probably took me like 5 hours that I was out at this place. And then I've gone back. I'm like, okay, I'll catch my bus home now. And I've walked back, and I'm waiting at my bus stop, which is on the main street. And this person comes up to me, and they're like, hey, I think my friend was talking to you before. And I'm like, oh, what, like, who's your friend and that? And like, I can't, like, I'm waiting for my bus. Like, I'm at my bus stop. Like, I can't leave my bus stop.
Yeah.
And they approached me at my bus stop. And he's like, oh, he was from Amnesty International now. They were no longer in their shirts.
Oh.
And I got approached and signed up.
Oh, no.
I couldn't get away. I got away once, and then he came back, and I just felt so guilted into it.
No.
And I couldn't, like, I had no out. I needed to catch my bus. My bus was like 10 minutes away.
Oh.
And so I got signed up. So that was fun. I was like, oh, I thought I
I was free.
that bullet. I thought I dodged that bullet, but I didn't. And then like I got banned from opening the door at when I was living with Jill and Nicole.
Were you just listening to like the Jehovah's Witnesses and?
Yeah, they got me once.
Oh, no.
I needed to go to work too. I thought we were so. I was living with two friends and we lived, Jill and Nicole, and we were living in a townhouse. And so there's like a lot of other townhouses and that around. And these older people knocked on the door. And I just thought that they must have been lost and they were looking for somebody else's.
Bless.
Poor naive me. So I was like, oh, okay, they're just trying to go somewhere. And then I felt rude, like trying to turn them away. But I had to leave for work in 5 minutes and still had stuff to do. And yeah, they just like knocked on the door and I've opened it up and they're like, do you believe in Jesus? And I was like, I was just going to give you directions to the house you wanted to go to.
I wasn't
like,
ready for this
no.
philosophical question.
Yeah, and then they're telling me like, you know, oh, you can look things up online, and then I ended up managing to get them to leave, but then I had a pamphlet, and then the girls came home. There's this pamphlet on the coffee table. They're like, "What did you do?" I was like, "Oh no." Oh no. And I had the same thing with the Red Cross at one point, because I was like, I donate blood. I was like, that's cool. I'll just open the door and be like, yeah, it's fine, I do blood donations. And then they've just gone, so the homeless in Melbourne. And I was like, I made mistakes. So I did, like, I think I signed up and gave it, I was donating to them for a while. Yeah.
Wow. So if you need anything from Bridget, approach her house.
Please don't knock on my door.
She won't be able to say no.
It happened with the HelloFresh guy the other day. I really didn't want the HelloFresh. And because I cook my own meals, I'm more than happy to do that. And I was like, that's fine, but like Rachel might be interested. No, she switched over to this. And then Rachel pops her head out. So they just got a security door. Yeah. So I'd opened the front door, but not the security door, because I don't know anybody in like many people in Terrellian, so I just saw a person at the door and assumed it must be for one of them. I'll open the door for them. And then Rachel pops her head out from her bedroom, which can directly see the front door, and she's like, she's not interested, but she's too polite to say so.
Oh my gosh. That's such a Rachel thing.
And I was like, could you not just come out and just like close the door for me instead? Because now this is more awkward.
Yeah.
I was like, but I really don't want to sign up to HelloFresh.
and she's just sent it from there, and you're just holding the door still. You're just like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, pretty much.
I just wanted, before we kept going, I just wanted to ask, you were talking about do you believe in Jesus? And we went to a Christian high school.
Yep.
And I suppose, how has that impacted like your spiritual? Because my family isn't religious. I suppose my dad's side, they were like Italian Catholic or whatever. I'm not really sure. And so like we're all baptized and stuff. And when I was younger, there was a heaven, a hell, a God. It wasn't like, it was just like the ideas of those things. Yeah. And they wanted me and my second elder sister so that we could at least had the information there if we wanted it. Because I think your family's kind of the similar situation.
Yeah, we're not, I wouldn't say that we're a religious family at all. Like, I think I've been to church like 3 times or something, and that's for my cousin's christenings and that. It was actually like, it was something that I found really interesting, because I found that I thought our year level was kind of evenly split between people who were Christian and then people who weren't. Yeah. And then there was also some very strong atheists in there. Yeah. Which was strange.
And I think that was like a byproduct of the Christian school, because there were some people, teachers who were very strong in their beliefs and the stance and that sort of thing. And then you got somewhere that were more casual about it, but for some people it just like kind of rubbed them the wrong way.
Yeah. To me, I think actually in terms of the atheist, it was like more of the acceptance kind of thing. Like if I think back to the people who were that came across as being a lot more strong atheists, it was because they had teachers and that were strong Christians with a belief that didn't accept what that person believed. Yeah. And then that was where they probably the byproduct of that was because they're like, well, I want to be Christian. Like, I am Christian and I believe in God, but then you're saying that you are as well, and you're pretty much saying that I'm not because I believe in this.
Yeah.
That's like the interpretation kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I suppose for me, I don't know. I found it very interesting. Like, I just find all that kind of stuff quite fascinating. Like, I love that people can wholeheartedly put their faith in something. It's not something that I can do because I suppose I'd say quite logically minded in a way that I need to have substantial proof for that kind of stuff. Like, I can't just give caution to the wind and be believing in something that I can't, like, see.
Yeah. Would you say that's a part of your, like, whole side? Like,
I think it's just the way that my brain works.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like, if there's anything else there. It's how I like but it's how I reason myself out of things as well. And that is going like, oh, well, you're scared of this. Well, that's just really stupid. Like, why would you be scared of that? You don't have any proof to show. And that's how I like will myself into doing different things. Yeah. So that's where it kind of like it's hard for me to, I suppose, put my faith in something where it's like I'm constantly telling myself,
you need the proof. Well, it's no, I get that. It's interesting.
Yeah, I was trying to I probably came across as saying wrong using the word logical, because I don't think it's illogical to have faith at all. But in like other religions and stuff as well, like I find it quite interesting, and just also because there's so many different interpretations on it. Like, I can't remember, there was one that stood out for me, and I'm not sure, like just one Bible studies class, and it was, we had the teacher asked us questions, and we were in groups of like 4, and asked us a question, and we had to say yes or no, like as a group, decide on what our stance was, and then he would tell us what a Christian would believe. Which again, down to interpretation. Because I remember one of them, and the group that I was in, we were with 2 people who were quite strong Christians and 2 of us who were kind of not. And there was one question and we were completely divided, and the teacher's like, you have to put an answer up on the board. And I was like, I'm not putting my name down to their view. And they were the same. They didn't want to put their name down to our view. And then that's where I was kind of like, this is, this is where like the, I suppose, divide happens. And I think it was something like, actually I think it might have been gay marriage, and I was like, no, I don't have a problem with it. Like, why should we have a problem with it? And they were like, no, it's not right. The Bible says it's not right, and we're not putting our name up and saying that it's okay. And I was like, well, I'm not putting my name up and saying it's not okay. Like, what is the problem like with it? I just didn't see it. And then, but then like talking with like some of the other groups had people who were Christian in there who were like, oh, it's completely fine. Like, we don't have a problem with it. And then the teacher like puts up on the board saying like, oh no, if you're Christian, you would believe that it's this. And I feel like that's where it's actually quite hard, like for the other kids and stuff there that are Christian and identify as being Christian, and you're telling them that they're not because that's not the stance that they have.
That's brutal.
And
that's
like when people are growing and like you're shaping these minds of these people, and you're telling them,
well, it's like that
not to have their own thoughts, really. Like it's this or it's not this. And if you don't believe in this one thing, then you can't have.
I think you're right about that sort of being like that kind of, not a moment where it sort of just is like, kind of just reveals the different types of people. Because
that's just a moment that I had, like, that's just something that stood out for me, because I was just like, I probably couldn't think of a lot of different moments, but I just remember that one because we had like clashed so much between the 2 people, like me and the other person, and then these 2 other people, and neither of us wanted to back down, and they pretty much like make a decision, and it's like, well, no, but in all truth, like, some things like that you shouldn't have to like, it's okay that we think differently. If your different thoughts hurt somebody else, maybe you need to rethink them. But if they don't, and you're happy just having that thought there, like, you can have that thought. That's okay. Well, to me anyway. Like, if you're just gonna not be accepting of one thing, or, you know, like, if you didn't like chocolate shakes,
No,
and you're like, chocolate shakes are absolutely terrible, they're disgusting, and then you go around to everybody and you tell them that they're disgusting and that they're a disgusting they're disgusting for having them. And it's like, but why can't you just accept the fact that you don't like them?
Yeah.
But it's okay for them to like them.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I get that. And let's like keep like have vanilla shake then.
Yeah.
That's not your
yeah,
fault.
exactly.
I understand what you're saying, and it makes sense, because I always try to say the same thing. It's like, as long as you're not trying to hurt people or
Yes.
doing anything negatively bad,
Yeah.
then keep it to you. Like, then that's okay with me. But you're right. There is like a weird. There's like a weird line, especially when it comes to stuff like faith and religion.
Yeah.
Where the people this might be a very extreme example.
Yeah.
But it's like the girl from the Westboro Baptist Church. Her name, oh my gosh, Megan Phillips. I can't remember her name. So, you know, the Westboro Baptist Church. So for a brief gloss over for people who don't know, the Westboro Baptist Church is a church of about 20, 30 people. It's mainly like the one family, cousins and stuff. They are like very religious, to the point where they will go protest military service funerals or gay weddings, or they'll go to like marches and they'll be like, God caused 9/11, like God hates fags, all this stuff.
Wow.
And it's like a very toxic. Louis Theroux did a BBC documentary on them.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting to watch. But it's pretty much like what is in the Bible is a direct rule, and so they obviously like indoctrinate their children into it like straight out. But this one girl, I'm pretty sure her name is Megan. She was in it, and she was in the documentary, and so many years later she went onto Twitter to try like be like, oh, I'm gonna talk to people and, you know, see, like, tell them, preach to them, like.
Yeah.
But she ended up having conversations with a variety of people who made her question her church and the belief and everything.
Yeah.
But there's actually a new Louis Theroux documentary coming out soon with her in it, actually.
Yeah.
But my whole point of saying that story was, for them, in their mind, they were trying to help people by telling them, this is the wrong thing, don't do this, and God will love you, and God won't send that, you know, do all these things. That's where it sort of becomes hard, when it's like, when the people who were trying to, I suppose, preach an idea or whatever, when it comes back to them and their belief that they're helping you, then it kind of like validates their belief.
Yeah, well, it's like, reminds me kind of, again, back to high school, when we were reading The Road, I think it was, and we had like a prompt or something to write an essay on, and it was, if the dad and the child had both died, would there still be good in the world? Because everybody else is, I suppose, cannibalistic at that stage. And I was like, well, yeah, there'd still be good in the world. And our teacher at the time was like, didn't agree with me. And I've gone, well, because the people don't think that they're doing anything wrong. Like, they don't look at it and go, this is evil.
Yeah, I'm trying to survive, so I have to eat these people.
To them, it's like they don't distinguish themselves as not being good.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, you know, because if you start thinking that you're not a good person, then that would just go on this whole other, like, spiral kind of thing.
Yeah.
So to them, it's not bad. Like, it's not, evil, I think was the, like, term that was there. And she was just like, no, if dad and son aren't there, then there's no good. And I was like, no, but you're not there. Your definition of what's good doesn't come into play.
Yeah.
If you've got two people left in the world and they both hate mushrooms, well, then mushrooms are bad. I was like, doesn't matter if you think mushrooms are good. You're not there. You don't get a say in it.
Yeah. And it's also a shallow way of looking at everything.
Yeah.
You know, like,
you have to try and, like, distance yourself from things at some point. Like, distance your feelings and kind of be like, okay, they're probably feeling like this because this is what they've been brought up to think, and that's probably not something that's going to change. So you kind of just have to accept it, and then work around it. And if you can't work around it, then that's kind of when you're like, okay, we're just not going to associate with these people.
Yeah.
We're just gonna. It's just I can't deal with it.
Yeah, just taking it at that face value sort of thing.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, cannibalism is a pretty extreme,
Yeah.
extreme, like,
Post-apocalyptic,
yeah, but that's-
world-ending. Studied some
Dark.
very interesting things.
I remember
in high
doing the Truman Show in English in year 8.
I actually like the Truman Show.
love
Is so
the Truman
fascinating.
Show. I have it on DVD
Yeah.
here somewhere, and
On the Waterfront is another one. Like, I actually really enjoyed that. And there was another. I feel like it was probably the Truman Show. And like, there was definitely something that we studied, and I remember going, I kind of wish we didn't study it because
that
it kind of like,
the Truman Show.
yeah,
I remember,
we watched it so many times.
I remember that was because we had to write English essays about it, and it was about the Christian iconography in the Truman Show. So it was all about looking at things that matched with the Bible or Jesus and God and like all that sort of symbolism, as opposed to just like general. But I mean, when you do watch it now, you can sort of be like, oh, that kind of like, it makes sense. But I think at the time, because we were all in high school and like you said, we weren't very religious, it was sort of like, why does everything have to be so religious? Sort of thing.
Like going to the library and they didn't have Harry Potter because it goes against their like viewpoints. And I was like, yeah, but like, I read it and I don't believe in witches and witchcraft, and I'm just gonna break a one down and run into a brick wall. Like, it's not
It's so
at a train station.
Yeah, it's so interesting when like literature is, I wouldn't say banned,
taken as being non-fiction, or like that it could be like the fiction could be interpreted as non-fiction,
or just because it's about witches and magic, it's evil. When it's like, but like at its
they would
core,
have burned my whole library as a teenager. They'd still burn it now.
They probably would. Like, the theme isn't about evil magic. It's about like friendship and overcoming things, and I mean, I'm not going to go into it.
Yeah, we could have a whole podcast just on Harry Potter.
Honestly though, we were deep in Harry Potter, because I remember doing like the spell. Don't even put it. Editing it out.
Embarrassment gone.
My face is going bright right now.
The shame.
The shame. It's fun though. It's funny to think about the ridiculousness.
The Harry Potter thing is just something I find really interesting, because it's so deeply the information is just so deeply ingrained in my brain that
it's always there.
I don't know not knowing it. Like, someone will ask me a question and I'll randomly be like, just spit it out, and they're like, oh my god, how do you know that? I was like, I honestly don't know. Like, I could not tell you. I can't even. I wasn't a person that read the books like multiple times.
You did play Harry Potter Seen It way too much.
I feel like the moment where I was kind of like, I have too much knowledge, was when I was playing Harry Potter Seen It with a friend, and you pretty much, you keep going until you get a question wrong. And they'd moved something like 10 steps and I'd already finished the game. I'd made it around the board and I was on my second lap, and I did 2 laps of it before they got like a quarter of the way. And I've just gone, I have a lot of, like, how? And even now, like, there's people that know like far more than I do. I think it's just because we kind of like grew up with it. Literally. Like, the books came out when we were in primary school, like they were still coming out, and then all through high school the movies were coming out. So like I'm pretty sure I can nearly quote the first movie, and I don't think I've seen. I could not tell. It's not a movie I'd say I've watched that like a billion times. Yeah. Like, I don't actively sit down and watch it all the time. Yeah. I just, for some reason, know it.
No. Well, lately Harry Potter's been like marathoning on Foxtel. So Mum's just been like randomly having it on.
Yeah.
And I've watched the Fantastic Beasts movies more like recently than the other ones. But the other ones, there's just like such a classic.
They just are.
But I will say, and this might be a controversial opinion, I don't know.
Hit me with it.
The children aren't that great actors.
No.
They're not.
Especially,
sorry.
they kind of, where by the time they get older...
It's still
See,
not
by
that
the time
great.
they get
but...
older, I don't know if it's they're great, if it's their acting, but I kind of just like, you just see them as the character. So I don't necessarily look at it as being bad acting because it's kind of just
that's just they're being them.
Yeah, that's just them being them. And it's like, you know, sometimes acting isn't very realistic of how someone would actually react to something. So it's like, you know, but yeah, definitely in the first few movies, I think they just picked them for, I suppose, lookalikes.
Look like the kids, I suppose.
Yeah.
This makes me just think there's like one scene in The Half-Blood Prince, I'm pretty sure. And it's like Harry and Ron are on the train.
Yeah.
And it's after Hermione's like mad. And Lavender's like done the heart in the smoke thing.
Yeah.
In the fog. I just like don't know what it is about it, but I just like can't handle it. I'm just like, I can just tell this is not good.
I can't handle the room of requirement kiss.
With Harry
and Ginny. I can't do it at all. Like I don't know if I'm just not deeply invested enough in Ginny to be like, this moment should have happened. I
don't think anyone was emotionally. No offense, Ginny.
Bring back Winky. That's all I can say. Where's my drunken house elf?
Yeah. And like in the 5th movie, Hermione had like a whole political storyline with the house elves and stuff. That got canned.
Yeah.
That was such a good thing. It even like went into like, she ended up becoming in the Ministry of Magic like a protection of magical creatures like lady. Don't know why I'm going on this rant.
Yeah.
But they should have had that in there. Anyways.
I did do it. Well, it's like just on the, I suppose, fan cult followings. I'm just gonna call it that. I'll admit to it. Harry Potter has a bit of a cult following.
Yes.
Don't go shaming your Potterheads. But the one that got me was at high school. I did English fantasy in year 10, and we did Lord of the Rings.
Yes. The Hobbit.
As someone who reads a lot, that was the first book I didn't finish. It was so boring. I couldn't do it. I really couldn't.
Now,
I feel like
Lord of the
this
Rings
is the
people are gonna
controversy.
come.
I feel like this is the controversy here right now. Great, like, premise. I just not a fan of Tolkien's writing style. Probably just because I like books that are a bit more faster paced. And like I know that's what it is because I've read another fantasy book that's like really well renowned called The Name of the Wind. I've tried to read it, but it's so slow paced that I didn't enjoy it. But like I really love the writing style. Like it's very poetic, but just the story itself is just not what I try to get out of a book.
Yeah.
So like I can appreciate it. And again, like I can appreciate The Hobbit, but The Lord of the Rings, and it's one thing that people kind of would call me a nerd, and would expect me to be all about all of the pop cultures and all that kind of stuff. I might give off that vibe, that's fine. But I haven't seen the 3rd Lord of the Rings movie.
Oh, it's so long.
So I've seen the first one, and I've seen the second one, but I haven't seen the last one.
Oh.
And I've seen The Hobbit.
The 3rd one's actually really good.
I know, but the problem is we watched the first movie that many times and had to pick it apart and analyze it that I can't watch the first movie anymore. So it ruined the first movie for me. And because I didn't try and watch the 3rd movie straight after watching the second one, I feel like I need to go back. And I can't go back because I can't watch the first movie anymore. It literally ruined it for me.
That's so depressing.
I know.
The 3rd one was actually really good.
I know. Everyone
So
says that. Like, I need to watch it. But I feel like if someone can just summarize.
They can't. It's too long.
I know. Well, I really enjoyed the first Hobbit movie when it came out. Again, why were there 3 movies? The book is tiny. 2 movies would have made sense. Like a lot happens in The Hobbit. Like a lot does happen in that book. So you could spread it out over 2 movies. Over 3, no. And I think the thing that justifies that is the fact that over half of the first movie they haven't left the Shire. I'm sorry. It takes them like an hour to leave the Shire.
Oh, yeah, because of the whole dinner thing with the dwarves. It takes forever.
Yes. over an hour because I tried to watch it again and I was like, this is so boring. Like literally, like we're not seeing anything. Good the first time you watch it because you don't know what's going to happen, but the rest of it, you're like, can we get into some action now?
Yeah.
Over an hour, people.
That's
An
wild.
hour.
They just wanted to milk the Hobbit though. Like,
Now there's
like
a TV series coming out.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, if they do it well, good.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like,
But
the
it's the same-
trilogy wasn't necessary, technically. Maybe it'll be like the Hobbit trilogy, I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
I reckon it
The
should
la-
have been a duology.
the last
made sense.
one was essentially just all new story. And they had, like, all the elf stuff, like, extra thrown in there.
Yeah. But I feel like if you're going to do it and you want to put that kind of information in, they'd easily be able to make a spin-off, like, just about the
elves.
background. The elves and stuff.
That'd be sick. That'd be awesome. They were
Yeah.
cool.
Like, the Fantastic Beasts movies, I'm not, like, deeply invested in.
Yeah.
Like, I get it, and it's quite interesting. Like, it builds the other side of the world outside of the UK,
Yeah.
or outside of Europe, I
Yeah.
suppose. But I would have been happy if they just left it with the Harry Potter movies. But like, it's good because it's introducing the new kids in that
Well, just
into it. The Cursed Child was really good.
Yeah.
That was just like, as a stage show, I just really like stage shows and musicals too. So like, I was more than happy for that to happen.
You've seen Cats in person, like the theatre show, haven't you?
I may have fallen asleep.
Oh my god, really? Because I was have you seen you haven't seen, you would not have seen the movie.
No,
Yeah, don't.
do it.
Because
Because
only if you
part of me kind of wants.
Well, that's it.
to.
So I went and saw it in movies because of how terrible I heard it was. And I was like, I have to participate in this point of culture.
Yeah.
And I did with Sam. And it was a lot. Not a lot in a good way, a lot. It was a lot.
Because the stage show is a lot.
Well,
Like, because I'm like, after seeing the movie, I'm sure you know, everybody has weird random names and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. The storyline itself is a bit odd.
There's no
so
story.
imagine that as a stage show.
Well, but-
it makes no sense.
But
like,
a stage show makes, for me, the stage show makes, I haven't seen the stage show, I
Yeah.
will say. But in the context of the movie, if that was the stage show, then I think it would have made so much just more sense leaving it as a stage show. Because in a stage show, it's like, Wicked and stuff, you know? It's all
Yeah.
about the set pieces and the costuming and the makeup and, like, the songs and stuff. I didn't
kinda lose all of
I didn't
that?
really like the Cats songs. But yeah, well
well,
when
the songs were probably like all the same. So I
They
remember
were
like
pretty
when
much the same.
when I went and saw Cats, I didn't know what the storyline was. I had no idea at all.
Yeah.
If you go into it having no idea what the storyline is, there's no point in time when you're going to pick up on what the storyline is.
Literally no point.
There is literally no point in time when you're like, oh, this is what's happening. You just spend the whole time sitting there being very confused as they start singing about Rumple Teaser and I don't even know what everybody else's names are.
What do they call? The Jellicle Cats.
Yeah, the Jellicle Cats. And you're just like, what
What is
is
a Jellicle
happening?
cat?
Like, I don't, what are the Jellicle Cats? Like, what's the storyline? Why are we breaking out into song about all of these random, like, cats?
Just
Are they
introduce
even
it, yeah.
cats? You're just, like, singing songs. Nothing's ever told me that this is the name of this cat. And then
Well,
afterwards...
that's meant to be in the song. Because, like, the songs are essentially just introducing the cat, telling you what they do.
But
and
I
that's
suppose
it.
in movie form, they look like other people. Like, each cat looks
Oh, yeah, they look
individual.
individual.
When they're on stage,
They look the same.
they all kind of look the same.
Yeah, I get that. I feel like I would have to see it in theater now just to like be able to like
I'd love to
confidently
say
say
I'd
these
come
things,
with you,
but,
but
I don't
it's
think I can.
not.
I'm not going
It's
to.
not gonna happen.
The reason theater I thought it would make more sense was because in the movie they like what I was saying with like Wicked, you go and while they're singing you admire the costumes and you admire the sets and everything, but because it was a movie, the Cats, it was all cut up so strangely. Well, not strangely, but like it would be someone singing. There was like a scene where it was like Ian McKellen singing as a cat.
Yeah.
And it was literally probably him just standing still. And it would like cut from different things, but you just, instead of actually paying attention and just like enjoying it, you're then being confronted with all this like weird looking cats, and like there's something about the set that looks strange, and
Yeah.
like you don't really appreciate it as a whole. It's more just like uncanny valley snippets
Yeah.
of like there's something wrong with that. I can't tell what's wrong with it, but something's wrong.
Yeah, like this just doesn't quite work.
It's a
Well,
very strange.
Have you seen The Cursed Child?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, one, you need to get on that.
I will say I have spoiled it for myself, though, so.
Well,
but I feel like it would be
I feel
different
like
to see.
you probably wouldn't spoil it for yourself because, like, even if you've read the book, you get the storyline. But the actual thing that got me was how they like brought the magic to life.
Yeah.
So that was like actually like
More interesting.
amazing. Like it was also kind of like you were at like a illusion show at the same time, where I'm used to going to musicals, so I kept expecting them to break out in song and they weren't, and I was like, this would be the perfect time, like cue song,
Yeah.
and then they just like keep speaking. I'm like, oh.
That's interesting. I don't know why. I think I just assumed that there would be a song in there.
Yeah, I assumed it would be a musical, but that's just because
We've been brainwashed.
I feel like all I see is musicals.
Yeah.
But that's just because I like musicals. I have no... Yeah, musicals
not
are just
cats.
great. Just really not cats.
Yeah.
Really not cats. Yeah,
It's
I
not.
know.
It's,
But I think Anastasia's coming to Australia.
oh really?
Yeah,
That would be cool.
that would be awesome. Frozen can stay away.
Frozen. Have you seen Frozen 2?
I have.
Was
Have
it
you
good?
seen it?
No, I haven't. I actually really want to.
Okay. Well, I don't want to spoil anything for you.
Don't spoil it.
Okay.
You can't spoil it. What if the people listening haven't watched it?
Okay, that's true. Well, I don't... Like, it's good, but there's no, like, standout songs or anything in it.
Oh.
Like, the songs aren't bad, but there's not, like... You know how all
Like,
Disney
Let It
movies
Go
kind of
was
have that,
like-
like, a one song
Yeah.
or... like, they're all good, but they're not... Yeah. And I
can tell it's a
I wasn't
sequel.
the biggest... You can definitely tell it's a sequel, but I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of it. But like, because Disney's done some good sequels,
Yeah. Yeah. I won't say. Yeah. No, I agree.
so this is not up there with it
No.
to me, in my opinion, as a Disney aficionado.
Yeah.
I've
Well, it's
seen
funny.
a lot.
Like the Disney sequels used to be just on VHS or
Yeah.
DVD, like straight, and you would enjoy it. But now you have to go to the movies fully
Well, I think this is the first Disney sequel, like
in movies.
in movies, but it's also the first Disney sequel that, well, I believe, don't quote me on it completely, that Disney Studios made as well, or the Walt Disney Studios made as
Okay.
well. Normally they would, so the people who make all the big ones when they first come out, they would pass it off. The sequels and that are all made by,
like a different company.
yeah, like the,
Or a smaller
like
company.
the Sun Studio or something.
Okay.
So yeah, they're never made by the same people,
Oh, okay.
which you can kind of tell.
Yeah. The second Cinderella 2 comes to mind. Have you seen that one?
We're not talking about Cinderella 2. That never should have happened. It never should have happened. Yeah.
I love
But then there's like, you know, The Little Mermaid 2.
Beauty and the Beast 2. The Christmas one.
Yeah. Again.
That
I
used to
just-
stress me out all the time. When she was trying to get the Christmas tree on the sleigh and all the ice was breaking.
It's just not, yeah.
I'm
And
stressed.
The
thinking
Lion
about it.
King 2.
Yes.
Are you ready? Are you ready for my controversial
Oh
opinion?
no.
The Lion King 2 is better than The Lion King 1.
Oh, I'll go there with you. I believe that.
You
I
believe
believe
that?
that. Do you ever watch
Kimba,
Kimba?
the White Lion?
Yes.
I grew up on Kimba.
Me too. And then
I had
watched...
like 3 of them on VHS.
Oh my gosh! I used to watch. We used to have them at Nana and Poppy's house,
There was
and
one
we
that was like
always watched
fluoro
Kimber
green
the Lion.
and fluoro orange,
Yes,
and like
oh.
I think there was a fluoro pink and a purple like video of Kimber the White Lion, and then the Lion King, and it was the same. Like it
Literally
is
the same.
It is.
It just
it is
hasn't got the
same.
songs.
Yeah,
It's got
and I watched
different-
a lot more Kimber the White Lion than I did the Lion King.
That's so funny because I feel like I remember you used to love Lion King.
No, the Lion King's never been one of my favorites.
Where did that idea ever come from?
Probably because I'm a big Disney fan,
I just
and
assumed.
and everybody loves the Lion King, quote unquote, not me. But
Wow, we're taking
I-
a firm stand.
I have
here.
a firm stance on it. Like, I don't mind the Lion King. Like, it's good. They've got good music and stuff in there. But the Lion King 2, I just like more. But I think that I like the Lion King 2 more because we never had the Lion King video, but we had Lion King 2 video. So again,
yeah.
I watched that probably
that.
more. Same with The Little Mermaid. I watched The Little Mermaid 2 more than I watched The Little Mermaid. For that same reason, we had the second one on VHS, but we didn't have the first one.
Did you watch Pocahontas too?
Yes.
The one where she goes to England, right?
Yes, and then there's no John Smith anymore, and it's like, are we just forgetting the whole first movie happened?
Yes.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. No. Aladdin 3 is a great movie.
Oh, Aladdin's the one you love.
Aladdin's the one that I love.
Yeah.
I love Aladdin, and I love Beauty and the Beast. Actually, I love them all. And Tarzan.
So, and you've always just been a
Hercules.
Disney person?
I've always been a Disney person.
Have you, was it because, like, were your eldest, little?
Not really.
Sorry, I'm having a stroke.
Eldest siblings? Older siblings?
Yeah, older siblings. I'll just say older.
No. Not real. Like, Nikki likes Disney and stuff. But no, I probably wouldn't say they were. Maybe one of our best friends growing up, that we used to spend, like, all our time with and that, her mum was really big into, like, Mickey Mouse and all that kind of stuff. So maybe it came through that. Like, she used to watch it all the time and then we'd all watch it. But I'm not really sure. I think, again, we're kind of like the Disney generation.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of them came out and probably older than us. So, like, your older siblings.
Well, I remember Dad would still tell me, because I loved the original Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
He went to the movies with my nana to see that when he was a little boy, and he was so afraid of it.
Well, I was afraid of Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
I remember being afraid of that, but that was like one of Rachel's favorites, and I'm pretty sure I really liked Beauty and the Beast, but Rachel was scared of the Beast. So it's like I don't know.
Well, like Snow White was creepy. I used to love Snow White when I was little, and the end scene, whenever she was the queen was turning into the evil witch, and the end when she falls off the cliff, like all traumatic moments.
Sleeping Beauty, I will stand by that. It's a terrifying movie. It's an absolutely terrifying movie, and even parts of like The Little Mermaid. It's just a bit creepy, but I don't know. But then I like went down, like, I find fairy tales in that very interesting because they're such like, how did these things become stories and become like, okay.
Yeah. Well, also like in like the original
Yeah,
ones,
that's what I mean. The original
versions
ones.
of them. Yeah, and how they slowly over time just like got less crazy.
I remember being in high school again, and talking to people, and we were talking about like, I think we were talking about Disney movies, and nobody knew what the original stories were, and then I started like breaking the ice. Well, like I started like, it was like shattering moments, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, Cinderella, like
The glass.
yeah,
Like it was like wasn't it what happened to
they
like
cut their stepsisters cut their toes off to fit into the shoe.
Insanity.
And then like Little Mermaid, like it felt like glass every time she was walking, and she had to like kill the prince because he didn't actually love her, and like that's not what happens in the and everyone's like, what do you mean? I still remember like actually on that, because Taylor Swift's Love Story came out when we were in like what, year 7 or something.
Yeah.
And they meant year 8, and they mentioned like Romeo and Juliet, and we were studying Romeo and Juliet, and there was an astonishing amount of people in our class that thought Romeo and Juliet ended with them like happily married.
Yeah. Did not happen.
It did not happen. And I remember breaking that to people too, or like watching it and them just being like, wait, don't they like live happily ever after? Like there's a song about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's called tragedy for a reason. Like it's one of Shakespeare's great tragedies. So yeah, that's just the kind of like I love the originals of things, and then seeing how people like twist them and turn them and that. But like, yeah, original fairy tales are messed up.
Well, I'm curious, like, did someone just come up with them? Or was it like do you think there was meant to be like a story that inspired it? Because
well, a lot of
because a lot of them come from different areas. Like,
yeah, well, you've got like your Hans Christian Andersen ones, and you've got your like Brothers Grimm fairy tales, which are like probably your two most well-known like fairy tale authors. But then it's like it then comes into that, like what classes as a fairy tale, what classes as a fable, what classes as like all different kinds of things, because you're reading them, and then you see like to us what a fairy tale is now. Like if you were to go back into the 1800s or whatever, whenever they were written, and be like, oh, I just want a fairy tale ending, people would be like, are you okay? Like, are you...
That's awful.
Yeah, why would you want that? Whereas, like, we associate it with, like, our Disney fairy tales.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Which is, like, a spin-off of very
The
dark
original
stories,
dark-
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, kind of like... They kind of like... What's that word? What's when you, like, learn from them? No.
Yeah, I know the word you're looking for. I don't have the word. It's lost in my brain somewhere.
There is a word for that, though,
Yeah.
where you get, like... It's meant to have, like, a... It's like a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I suppose. I don't know. I'm kind of wish I knew more about them.
About fairy tales.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so fascinating.
Just because, well, like where they came from.
Yeah.
And who, like, why did they just decide to write them? Or was it that, were they just written stories? Or were they, like, inspired? And that's not to say were they inspired by, like, a giant in the sky.
Yeah.
But, like, was it, like,
It's the kind
was
of
that
writing
to do
that
with,
you-
like, poor people and rich
Well, it's the
people?
kind of writing you couldn't do now.
Yeah.
Like, they're often, like, really short stories, and it's interpretations have been taken on them and liberties and stuff, which, like, when I was saying about the mythology ones
yeah,
as
like
well.
yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. They might have one sentence or two sentences about it, and then it's been interpreted in a way that a whole story's been created about it. We were talking about this actually with people at work the other day, about how all it takes is, like, one idea and a media source to get hold of that idea and manipulate it in, like, one way, like MSG. One guy wrote an article, a scientific article on MSG. Just one guy. Nobody backed it up. Nobody put any references towards it. Media got a hold of it. MSG's bad. So MSG is something quite interesting, because if you go to a whole, like, pretty much a whole generation of people, which I think is our, like, parents' generation, and you ask them about MSG, I'm pretty sure they'd have the opinion that it's really bad for you. And that you shouldn't eat it, and they won't eat MSG. Ask them if they eat mushrooms. MSG is in mushrooms. MSG is a naturally occurring thing. It's also synthetically made, I believe, which, like a lot of things, are synthetically made. But to me, I think the bad part about it is that we associate it's generally with things that are really high in salt. Like, you will get MSG in, like, salt, like chicken salt, or like anything kind of salty, because it's a savory flavor.
Yeah.
And that's probably where I believe the health issues are underlying a bit more. But yeah, that's what it was. It was like someone wrote an article on someone's scientific interpretation, and then bam, or it just all of a sudden that's bad for you, which is a lot of fad diets. The fact that we've had, like, fat's bad for you, and then no, fat's good for you, but it depends on its limits, or the kind of fat that it is, and then sugar's bad for you, but, like, is it bad for you? Like, not really.
Yeah.
You kind of need it. Sugar is vital. Like, you can't live without sugar.
Yeah.
Your body literally cannot function without it. And I don't mean, like, table sugar. I mean, like,
Natural sugars.
carbohydrates.
Okay.
Carbohydrates. We need them. But in moderation. There's obviously some that are worse, that are not worse, but not as ideal for our body as others. Much like fats, like your saturated fats and all that kind of stuff. But all it takes is, like, the fact that protein is so big at the moment. We actually consume everything that's kind of hard. You could get enough protein out of a diet. The average person will get enough protein out of their diet. Unless you are bodybuilding, you don't need any more protein. Your body actually can't process the protein. It can only process a certain amount. The rest of it just, I think comes out in our urine, I think. Yeah. All the excess protein. So you're not, every little extra bit of protein that you're consuming because you're trying to have a high protein diet is just going straight through you.
Yeah.
Your body's not absorbing it anyway.
That's so interesting.
But
Well-
high protein diets, guys.
Yeah, I suppose
the-
it all goes about the way it's, like, communicated, like the idea,
Yeah.
and how it's presented.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I suppose that's how things like anti-vax people,
Yeah.
like how that all just happens. Like,
Yeah, I think that's how we got into this the discussion with people, like, in the first
So
place, was talking
strange.
about, like, anti-vaxxers and stuff, and you know they'll stand up and be like, oh yeah, but we haven't had this disease in so long or whatever, it's not even a thing, do we even have to worry about it? It's like, yeah, we don't have to worry about it because everyone's vaccinated.
Yeah, that's the reason why it's gone.
That's the reason.
I remember it's like measles.
Yeah, isn't there
and
an
there was
outbreak of something like, is it polio? Something's come back
Yeah.
in a place.
No, I feel like it might be. I know it's
and it's something we
measles,
haven't
but I
seen
feel
for like 100 years or
literally
something.
something ridiculous.
Something ridiculous. Now all of a sudden it's back and it's killed a billion, like it wiped out a lot of people in its time, and that's why the vaccine was created.
That's crazy.
It's not just a decision that you're making that will affect you, like it can affect a lot of people. Like my
Well, I mean, also they're making that decision for their children.
yeah,
So you're also like putting your child's life on, like you're betting their life
yeah.
based on something you're so passionately behind.
But
When
there's
you probably
people
had a
that-
vaccine and you're totally fine.
There's people that are actually, like, I know someone who is allergic to vaccines. There's
Oh,
a
wow.
stimulant or something that they put in them, or something that they use to dissolve it in there, and they're allergic to that, so they actually can't be vaccinated.
Oh wow.
So they're not because it's their choice, but because they're allergic to it, and so they can't be vaccinated. And the fact that other people aren't vaccinating is putting their child's health at risk of a choice that's not theirs.
Yeah.
So
And this person and your friend's life as well.
yeah, that's
because
what I
they
mean.
don't
Like
get
their
to-
life, they don't have a choice in it. And the fact that people aren't vaccinating means that these things could be popping up that could potentially kill them, but they can't be vaccinated against
That's
it.
wild.
Yeah. Like, can you imagine catching measles off somebody and dying from it because you can't be vaccinated, but they could have, but yeah.
That's so like reckless and selfish.
But they
Of-
might not know. They
of
might
the
not
individual. I mean-
know that it's. They might not look at it in that bigger picture. Like, it's something they should look at in that bigger picture.
Well,
but maybe they're
well,
just
exactly. It's something they
not
should.
educated in that, in how the flow and effect can be.
I'm curious to have. I would be curious to have a conversation with someone who thought that.
Yeah.
Just because, how did you get to that point? What happened? Was it because you read? Like, I honestly don't understand.
Yeah.
Because it.
Yeah. I
but
don't
mean-
understand either.
But even with other things, with like scientists and doctors and stuff, we've somehow entered this era of rejecting that. Usually the people we give the not the highest respect to, but
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh, they're a scientist. Oh, they must be brilliant, blah, blah, blah. We've somehow gotten to this point where we'd like disregard that in place of our own.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it make more sense to listen to people who spent years and years studying this, learning all this stuff, than reading just like one thing off the internet?
Well, it's like, what was her name? Belle Gibson, I think. You knew of her. She was on Instagram, and she started promoting a holistic diet. She said that she had brain cancer, I think, and that she survived it through diet. She didn't have
Oh my gosh.
brain cancer, and so she's ended up in like lawsuits and everything from it. But
Good.
that's where it's very dangerous, because people are looking at that going, I can be curing it
Yeah.
through doing this. Like, it's actually putting other people's lives at risk.
Yeah.
But that was one thing that I found quite interesting, because I actually followed her before
Oh,
she
wow.
had
No.
brain cancer. And so that's where, like, I found it so, like, just very interesting, because of being someone who had, so I followed her because she used to post like recipes and stuff for a whole like clean eating foods, and I like all that kind of stuff. So I was used to get the recipes and that off her, and then you could kind of tell when it switched, because then all of a sudden it was something she could make money off. So she would never post recipes anymore. The only way to get the recipes was to get the book.
Yeah.
Or to get this, and you went back and all of the old ones were gone. Like, she'd taken them off. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, it's like, you know,
Okay, if you want to make
like,
money,
if you,
then
I get that you want to make money, like, that's completely fair. But then it just kind of interesting, like, with the hindsight, afterwards, looking back on it and being like,
Spiraled
there
into
was
this thing.
there was like a change in it, in like the way that things and that were getting approached. So I could kind of look at it and go, maybe she looked at that as another way to be trying to get money or something off it, or attention, or draw it to that. She kind of went, because originally it just started off as like a wholesome kind
Hobby.
of, this is just stuff that I have here, I'll just share my recipes and that, and then all of a sudden it stopped being that, and so I actually stopped following it because I wasn't
into it. Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I want actual recipes.
That's so curious.
Yeah.
It's interesting the things like money and attention can get, like, people will do for money or attention.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was her like motivation and stuff behind it.
But you'd want to think, like, I would want to think that she's just doing it for money.
Yeah, you could watch interviews and stuff with her, and she doesn't really seem to show any kind of remorse or
That's crazy.
or anything. I feel like there's a difference between having it, like naturopathy and stuff. There's a difference between having it there as a medium for someone to research and look into, and between preaching it.
Yeah, and saying this.
And between actively saying this is absolute fact, because like there's side effects and stuff to medicines, and if you want to go through a naturopath.
Yeah.
If you want to go through a naturopath, then that's completely fair. Like, there's civilizations out there that don't have modern medicine, and that's what they use. So there's definitely like an idea behind it. Like there's a science behind all of the medicinal properties and that of the stuff that they use.
Cool.
So, you know, it's maybe can't potentially cure cancer, but we don't have a cure for that at the moment. So yeah, I'm very pro people being able to make their own decisions, but it's hard when decisions can affect other people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it kind of just goes into the whole thing with social media, and when it does bring a revenue of money and attention, I mean, you see all these videos of people doing like, I mean, not so much like prank videos, but like, I mean, well, yeah, kind of even prank ones.
Yeah.
Or like fake, like social experiment. I'm doing like lots of in like quotes, in air quotes. Like, they're not pranks. They're not social experiments. They're just people being shitty.
Yeah.
But when it makes them money,
then they're okay
and
with
attention,
it.
that's okay.
But then that's the kind of thing, like something that I find quite interesting when you look at like comments that people put on some of these things, and they're like, oh, that's so fake, that's so staged. And I'm like, but what did you come here for? Like, did you find it entertaining?
Yeah.
Because that was the whole purpose of it. If it's going to be staged, they're going to stage it because they think it's going to be entertaining. And that's probably the reason why you're watching this video, because I don't really know why else you would be.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it's like if you wanted to be amazed and stuff, then you look for your one-off kind of, yeah.
But I suppose it depends then how they market sort of things.
Yeah.
Because like I remember there was a huge trend a couple years ago about like pranksters on YouTube doing social experiments.
Yeah.
That were all fake, but it was like going up to someone in the hood, in inverted quotations.
Yeah.
And like saying like white power or something ridiculous like that, and they'd go and do it and get beat up or whatever for it. But then it turns out it's fake. But then people use that as, well, this is what actually happens.
Yeah.
Because they don't have
You don't have to distinguish between the...
Well, like, I was up at my grandparents' house and saw my cousin's son. So he's my... Anyway, so I was, like, hanging out with him. And he was, like, showing me his video games whilst also, like, watching YouTube on his iPad. And he was just watching, like, it was probably like some 13, 14-year-old doing like pranks while like trick-or-treating. Yeah. And it was just like it was just obnoxious, but it was also like a lot of it was staged. Yeah. But when I'm a 25-year-old person, and still, like, in saying that, I don't know when everything's fake or real. Yeah. You know, some people are really good at figuring it out. But when you're young, you haven't got that. You don't even have like that wherefore or whatever it's called. Yeah. of being like, oh, this could potentially be fake. It's all just taken at face value.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, well, what's that gonna do for like this? Like there was a clip, and it was of a guy like going up to the front door and just like being rude and like taking all the candy or something from the person. Could have easily been fake, but for a 13-year-old, 12-year-old, in their mind, that's real.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's funny how they do it, because they don't do it
And
in
then
a way.
I'll go and do it.
Yeah.
And I'll actually do it.
And so it's like oh wait, this is like a
Yeah.
bad thing, you know? Like that's probably not the best example, but
Yeah. I do think that social media is very detrimental to society.
yeah. Well, at this point, it's a whole like
because you can't get away
ecosystem.
from. Yeah, you can't get away from it, and it's
people.
there's no definitive line between reality and what is just put on there to like for you like staged.
Yeah.
Really, like like.
And that's for everybody. That's not just for
They've
like
called
people.
it out for people being like, oh, I'm on holiday and this kind of stuff, and they've just self-imposed themselves into something, or they're not actually going there, and they're making money off this like ideal that's not real.
Yeah.
Like,
No, 100%. Yeah, and that whole thing, like, it's now become this another huge entity where people now like make money off it. It's their like job.
yeah,
And so it's becoming so integrated in. I even was watching a YouTube video last night. A girl was talking about how they did like a survey for like younger people, and like the one highest career wasn't like being an actor or teaching or nursing or anything. It was like YouTuber.
yeah,
But no, yes, social media is crazy.
it is, and I think we come into it like as a very like us as our age, where I find it really hard to be defined in either generation that we're technically put into a generation of, because we are a generation that half grew up with this kind of we grew up as it was coming through, but that was like when we were growing up, like through high school and stuff. Through primary school was when, you know, younger kids and stuff, I suppose, started getting phones. Like I can remember being in grade 6 and maybe like 4 or 5 of the kids had mobile phones. And then you get into like, we still had MySpace, you know?
Well, I remember using MSN.
Yeah.
In like grade 5 and 6.
Yeah.
And then
like we don't really know a world without internet, but then at the same point in time, like
we've had the world.
we had dial-up.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. We still had the
haven't
modems.
always and like in terms of even TV, like we grew up with 5 channels.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
There was no Netflix or all of that. Now you didn't have Did we have was YouTube around then?
It was like in year 7 it was there, but it was like
Yeah.
small. Like it wasn't anything like it is now.
Yeah.
You didn't have people making like money off of it.
Yeah. So we definitely like we've grown up with like knowing that people can make livings and stuff out of it, but we also like our primary school age, so before we were like 12 or so, we very much grew up with not having it around all of the time and relying on it, to being in high school and all of a sudden like people rely on it, whereas I suppose the generation above us is known for not having that so much, and then the generation below us is known for not having it.
Yeah.
Having it all the time. So yeah, it's like I can't imagine not having it now, but I think there's too much of it. There's too many outlets for it.
Like socials.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Like it's very much then shaped a way of people being. Like she'll about like dating apps and stuff. People don't go up to people like they used to, and you know everything's just based off dating apps. That's a horrible way to be. Like I don't enjoy it at all.
I was talking to Charlotte on the first podcast, and she was saying she's noticed that a lot of kids don't recognize body language or social cues as much as older generations.
Yeah.
Because it's all communicating through the screens, and you can't read obviously body language through the screen. And also, everyone has like their own way of writing.
Yes.
That like, there's probably only a few people who I like can read in quotation.
Yes.
What I think that how they're saying it, you know, because because
Yeah, I hate
everyone has such a
communicate.
different way.
I hate communicate. I'm a big fan of face-to-face communication.
It's also changed how we communicate, not just like to get like you and me,
Yeah.
but also other people on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Like you could probably talk to all your Dublin friends
Yeah.
right now on
Yeah.
the phone.
Yeah,
Whereas
the
that
amount
was
of
not
them-
a thing probably even like 20 years ago.
And the amount of them that I've had like message me and just be like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, are you safe from the fires and all this kind of stuff?" Just because they
Are
have
aware-
heard about it now,
and they're
they're
aware
aware
of
of it, and but yeah. So in some ways, it's great. It's great for communication and to keep people in the loop, but it's also very dangerous and can be quite toxic depending on what kind of messages and that are getting sent out there.
Yeah.
And because I suppose they probably didn't expect it to blow up as fast as it did.
I don't think so.
So
Well, it makes me think.
everything's still learning as they go. So they probably don't have these safety barriers in that they probably should have had in, just because they would never have thought that it would have been a problem.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast about the people at Twitter talking. I've mentioned this on another podcast, but it was about them trying to figure out how to make like a set of rules for like what people can say on Twitter.
Yeah.
But what they have to consider is all the different things in the different cultures. Different places have
Yeah.
different rules. Some things like you can the legality and what's culturally right. Like
Yeah.
some places, even like when you're talking with other people, like how can you interact with them? Imagine coming up with those.
Yeah.
But also, it's hard. I feel like you would need literally like a circle, a committee of people who are all very different. Like it couldn't be one of those things where it's just everyone with the same sort of ideologies. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Just because there's so many different types of people and
Yeah.
thinking, and then
And that's what it is. It's bringing together a lot of people, which is good, but it's also, that's where it can become very toxic, because these people probably wouldn't have come across the kind of
wouldn't
people who
interacted.
they wouldn't just never would have interacted. And then that's where you have like your trolls and stuff come through.
and people who get off on being shitty.
Yes.
There's literally have people like that.
Yeah. I called someone out on it once.
Did you?
It was on a dating app, and then I didn't respond. Like they'd sent me a message and I didn't want one. It was just the app, the way that it was designed at that time was you could just send people messages, and I don't like having like little red dots there. So I clicked on it and I opened it, and then they could see that I'd seen it, and then they responded in a very angry way. And so I was like, I just messaged him back saying, what were you trying to achieve from that? Like I just trying to understand. It's obviously not gonna
Make me want to see you.
pretty much make me want to see you. So what were you like? Why did you do it? What were you expecting? Like, were you trying to get like a reaction out of me? Like, is that something that? But what would that have like satisfied something to you? Like,
Did they reply?
Yeah, they were like, oh yeah, it's just something that guys do just to get a reaction. And I was like, yeah, but what do you want the reaction for?
Yeah.
What's the point in the reaction? Like, it makes absolutely no sense to me. Does it like calm your self-esteem? Like, if I had just left it, or if I had snapped back, does that like reassure your self-esteem? I was like, because I'm not going to leave it. You shouldn't talk to people that way. People wouldn't respond to that. People wouldn't respond that way in person.
Yeah. Or that's true.
They were only doing it because they've got something to hide behind.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to have that conversation, if someone was to come up to you in person and be like, oh, hey, Seb, like, you're really cute, we should go on a date, and you're like, oh, sorry, I'm not interested, they're not going to turn around and be like, you're the ugliest person I have ever seen in my life, how dare you?
Literally.
Like, this is, I hope that your, like, family, terrible things happen to them and everything.
Crazy.
Like, no one would turn around and say that to you in real life.
Yeah.
But behind a keyboard,
They can.
they can, because you can't retaliate.
I think that's like where people like maybe in 50 years might be better.
I hope so.
I mean, like, I just feel like at some point maybe I feel like we'd have to get to like
We've come a long way
etiquette.
from like where we used to be, but we've also
It's
We've
just
got
like
so far to go.
revealed new sides
Yeah,
of people.
yeah.
Or like not.
People are resilient.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way. The
People are-
shyness of people is resilient. It will always find a way to shine through.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it's just something I find very interesting, that people aren't like accepting it. They just take it as a full blown. Yeah, I suppose people can take things as full blown rejections, and because you don't have any tone and stuff come through,
Yeah.
and even just in like when you're emailing people or something like that, or sending a text message. Like I always try and put like a smiley face at the end of it, just in case.
Yeah, I do a
Like,
lot
I'm
of
never-
exclamation points.
Yeah.
I'm not mad, I'm just excited
Yeah,
about it.
I'm never angry. Just
Yeah.
so you know, or I'll type something. I'll be like, "Oh, that was very blunt." Got to send a smiley
Yeah.
face just so they know I'm not pissed off.
It's also got
'Cause
to
I'm
do
not
with
pissed
like
off.
how you, as the reader of like the receiver,
Yes.
how you're feeling that day. If you're in a bad mood and someone sends you a message that might seem like a bit off, then you're going to interpret that as being a bit off and a bad thing.
Yeah, I had that conversation with someone the other day. They got an email. Or I think we were just talking in general about how people get things differently. Like they'd gotten an email and had interpreted it in one way. So before they wanted a response, send a response, they just were like, "Oh, I want to confirm this with other people." And then they asked a couple of other people, and we all interpreted it completely differently. Some of us were like, "Oh no, like that's completely fine, like, you know, that's justified," and others were like, "Oh no, that's them like passively aggressively trying, like being pissed off at you."
That's so
And then
interesting.
others of us that were like, "No, there's not, like I wouldn't read anything into that. They're just saying like their piece."
I love that. That could be a psychology experiment.
Yeah, so it's just depends on people
On
and
you.
the way that you read it and context and all that kind of stuff, like whether you actually know that person really well or it's just your interpretation of how something's written down, which is why I like face-to-face conversations. I don't like things to get, you can read off body
can see,
language
yeah.
and stuff then. You know, there's some things where I'm like, "Oh, I should type this in an email," and I was like, "No, that'll come across too serious." So people just need to know I'm not serious about things. Off we go. But
Damn.
yeah, it's fascinating.
It is fascinating. Well, I feel like we might come to an end here because we've been
Yes.
going for a couple hours. But thank you, Bridget, for coming on.
Thanks
and
for having me.
coming and seeing me.
Thanks for having me, for chatting about everything.
Everything,
anything
literally.
and everything.
I wanted to actually talk about, because you're into food science and that's like your job. I actually did want to talk about that, but we ended up getting so distracted. So I'll have to have you on one day again. Usually I ask, is there anything you want to like plug or something you just want to say, get out there?
Just be kind, people. And wear sunscreen.
Yes.
That's pretty much it.
Be kind
just
and
think
wear
it, think about the ways that what you say and do can affect other people and how their interpretations can not necessarily be the way that you think they might take it. Yeah.
Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening. I'll record a proper outro later. So, bye. Thanks.
Why am I literally the worst person at outros? But anyways, thank you, Bridget, for coming on the podcast with me. It was great having you. Thank you guys for listening if you got this far. The podcast is available on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, and now Spotify. So listen there and give it a like if you liked it. I'll be trying to post new episodes every Thursday, so make sure you check back here whenever you can. You can check us out on Instagram, everywhere, The Selfishly Podcast. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again to Bridget, and thanks, guys. Bye.